Hello there, Taurus, Taurus, Taurus. Let's talk. This is going to be your August in-depth tarot forecast. The first segment that we're going to look at is going to be August 1st through the 8th. We're just going to see what kind of stuff comes up for you. Hopefully good stuff, but we'll dig in. We'll see about it. It's real life. Let's see what happens. Right now what I'm doing is I'm just shuffling. If you guys would like to scroll past this, that's totally fine. If you want to scroll past the shuffle and while I'm putting the cards down, I have no heartache with that. I just do this while I'm on camera because I know people like to witness the shuffle. We almost had some cards flop out, but not quite. And I think I'm just about ready to put cards down. Okay, let's see what you have. The first thing that we're going to look at talks to me about your environment. And your environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. For most people it does show up as home, but sometimes it's work, sometimes it's school. So let's just see what comes out right now. What do we have here? You've got a lot of interesting stuff actually happening in your environment. There is something that you're really enjoying about the environment that's new, that you're finding to be very pleasant. And I think that I'm not sure if you have people coming to visit you in your environment, or, maybe even not coming to visit, maybe coming to stay. This could be new people coming into where you're working, or this could be new people coming to live with you. Maybe you're bringing a baby home. That could be going on. You also could be visiting your old home, a home from the past. So there's somebody coming into the nest, whether they're coming into the nest that you're responsible for or whether you're going into their nest. There's somebody coming into the nest whenever we look at the environment here. And then the other thing that I have showing up is telling me that there's something that is being weakened about the environment. To me, I think that this is a maintenance issue. This is something like a water heater going out, or the air conditioner needs service, or something like that. To me, this just feels like it's something that is physical, much more than emotional, having to do with your environment. But we've got lots of good stuff going on. A little maintenance issue, we don't care about that. That's little. We're having fun. People are coming into the home. Somebody's coming into the nest. We're finding new things to be happy about there. Maybe the thing that you're finding to be happy about there is the improvement to whatever this mechanical issue is. That could be. You could really like what ends up being an upgrade when you fix something. All right, Taurus, let's look next at your subconscious leanings during this time frame. Subconscious. There's something going on here between you and another person, and this is a matched couple. So this is in personal life here. And it looks like you guys may have been feeling distant from each other, or you may have physically put some distance between each other. This looks like your subconscious leanings are towards how to reduce that distance, how to feel more attached and make that bond more strong between you and this other person. Interesting. Interesting. All right, next thing that I want to look at talks to me about your learning style and also your communication style. We're going to look at learning style first. You're definitely paying attention to spiritual things when it comes to learning style right now. You may even be focused on spiritual things. But if you're not focused on learning spiritual things, you're focused on finding out information through spiritual means, maybe getting a reading, or maybe you do readings. Maybe just using your intuition straight up. You could even be having intuitive dreams, could be how you're finding out some things. But I think that you're feeling very enthusiastic about this information that you're finding out and how you're finding it out. Looking at your communication style during this time frame from the 1st to the 8th. I think you're very open right now to hearing what other people have to say. It's not that you don't have opinions. You certainly do. But I don't feel like you're wanting to put your opinions out there so much as you're wanting to understand where other people are coming from. It's not that you're being secretive, but you are being kind of quiet about your opinions and how you feel about things. Because like I said, I feel like you're thinking that you can learn a lot more by hearing and understanding where other people are coming from right now. All right, Taurus, let's look next at work. And so I'm weird about work. I see work as that thing that we do to make a living or feel productive in the community, but I also see it as what we do to increase our own personal satisfaction with ourselves. So there's outer work that has to do with making a living or the community, and there's inner work that has to do with making us happy with who we are. So for outer work, it looks like there's some kind of disappointment that you suffered in the past whenever it comes to outer work. And I think you're really focused on getting beyond that disappointment. You're really focused on moving forward. You're starting to see that even though that disappointment happened, it's not the end of the world. There are other goals to reach out there. And I think you're really dedicated on getting past this, what Spirit is saying is trying time. So whatever's going on at work, I think you're really focused and dedicated to the idea of getting past it, getting into something that is working better or doing better, coming into a situation or a place that is just working out better, whether it's actually you transferring where you work to somebody else or whether it's actually just bringing things into a better situation where you are. I think that's going to play out differently for different ones of you, but the focus is about making things better one way or the other. Now, as far as inner work, I think you're dealing with a lot of grief, and this may have to do with your learning style that had to do with things that are spiritual. You may really be doing some research on what happens to a person's soul after they leave their body, or you may be doing research into mediumship, or you may be getting a reading from a medium. But there's definitely the sense of, your inner work is about grieving and really being dedicated to allowing yourself to feel those emotions and also work through those emotions to get to a place where you can start to smile again and you can start accepting that, okay, life is moving on even though this person isn't here anymore. And so we've got two cards that really talk about focus and dedication to that. And I think that that's definitely, when it comes to your inner work, that's definitely your focus. You want to get yourself into a place emotionally where you can just function much better in the earth. It's almost like, I really think I'm hearing you, Taurus, almost say, you know what, if I couldn't leave with that person, then I'm not going to. So I've got to make things better where I am. That's kind of the attitude that I'm feeling from you whenever it comes to that particular situation. Where are you being grown or expanded, Taurus, during the time frame from the 1st to the 8th? You are definitely starting something new, and you are starting it as a leap of faith. Problem is, I don't know if I want to call it a problem because we're all exactly where we need to be on our journeys. You're definitely starting something as a leap of faith because it just feels like it is the thing to do. Like you know that you know that you know that this is the right thing to do right now. And whatever this is that you're starting as a leap of faith is something that is very nurturing to other people, very uplifting to other people. The reason I'm a little bit concerned here is because you may be putting yourself and what your needs are backseat, back priority. And so you may be allowing yourself to be depleted as you're doing this new thing that helps other people. So you just want to be aware of that, pay attention to that, and make sure that you don't overextend yourself so that you have some time to allow yourself to be replenished. And the reason I'm concerned about that is not only is that a part of your personality that shows up here, but also I've got a card that says you're starting this new thing that you know that you know that you know that you need to do, but it's not feeling very fulfilling for you. It's not feeling like something that you could do for the rest of your life. In fact, it's kind of, I think you're getting burnt out on it almost as fast as you're starting it. So advice when I'm looking at these cards would be, you know, slow down, make room for you too as you're doing this. Not saying don't do it. I think your intuition is leading you to do this project, but there are healthier ways to approach it. So you want to slow down and make sure you've got some time to replenish yourself too. You can't go, well, you can, but it's not healthy for you to go totally gung-ho to the point that you don't pay attention to what you need, to sleep, to good food, to time to relax, that type of thing. Okay, la da da da. But that's where you're growing or expanding during this time frame. Next thing that we want to look at, Taurus. This talks to me about those things that you stand for during this time frame. There's something really interesting happening here with you and with your growth. So it looks like somebody has made a decision about you and about your behavior, and this decision may have come before the 1st to the 8th, but you're standing up for something surrounding the situation now. May have. And I feel like this person that made a decision about you or about your behavior, first of all, they made it in an unfair, corrupt type of way. Maybe they didn't have all the information, or maybe their opinion was skewed to start with. But I think that this person is also somebody who can be very sarcastic and cutting when they want to. And something about this person making that decision that was not fair, and in a very skewed way, has really gone a long ways in setting you free once you get through August 1st through the 8th. Where you were feeling insecure before, it's almost like a flashbulb went off, and now you're understanding, whoa, why was I feeling insecure? What was there for me to feel insecure about? This really suggests to me that whoever this is that makes this unfair decision towards you, when they decide to make this unfair decision, I think they decide to participate less in your life, if at all. And what was happening was they were being really sarcastic and cutting with you. They were criticizing you for things that you didn't earn that criticism. You know, you didn't deserve that criticism. And so when they make this decision and then they start backing away from interacting with you, guess what? Now you have a chance to start upping your self-confidence and your self-esteem because you're not hearing all the negative input that's coming in from this outside source. They've stepped back. They've stepped away. And yes, it was unfair that they stepped back, and it was unfair that they stepped away, but it allowed you to see that all the stuff that they were telling you was nothing but rotten bananas. And now you're getting your security back. You're getting your footing back. You're getting your stability back. You're feeling better about yourself. You're more comfortable in your own skin. Woohoo! Like, thank goodness this person made this unfair decision and stepped back. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. We're glad to see you go. I mean, we're not, because it was unfair, and that always kind of stings. But at the same time, like, what a relief. What a relief. All right. So next thing we're looking at is how other people perceive you during this time frame. They see you as somebody who has spent the time to really look at yourself and figure out what makes you trigger, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what makes you tick. They see you as somebody who has done that, and they see you as somebody who is coming out to the world because you have taken the time to do that, being able to help other people understand more about themselves as well. I think they're also seeing you as somebody who has been deposed from a station of authority. So you may have been a leader in an organization or a group, and you're no longer a leader. I don't think that was your choice. I don't think that was your choice. And that may have to do with that unfair decision we saw earlier. And they're also seeing you as somebody who knows, especially now, knows what you bring to the table. You know your strengths. You know what you're good at. And now you're looking for where can you go with those strengths and be appreciated for them. I almost want to say adequately, but that's not the word. Abundantly appreciated for those strengths that you have. And I would say that we're probably talking about the job front or the career front here. This could be about personal relationship, but I think for most of you, we're talking in the sector of career. That you've been deposed and you're looking for a place that's actually going to appreciate you. I think you were deposed as a result of an unfair decision. We saw that in the last little handful of cards. And when you were deposed as the result of an unfair decision, you took some time to really think some things over. What am I going to do? What do I want to do? What do I have to offer the world? And now you're offering that. So there's a certain amount of relief from being taken out of that position. To me, this looks like career. It could be personal. It could be as simple as somebody broke up with you and now you're starting to get your security back because they were a real jackbutt. But it feels more strongly professional. So I think a lot of you, this is going to be more about career than personal, although I won't take personal off the table. For a few of you, it could be personal as well. All right. Let's look next. Let's look next at that point where things start to turn around during this time frame. Okay? Let's see what we have here. Oh, okay. What I'm seeing here is a blockage of energy, where energy is not getting through. There's not communication, or somebody's not helpful to you and you're not helpful to them. I mean, maybe they're not letting you help them. There's an energy blockage here. Okay? And with this energy blockage, this is coming from somebody who I would consider to be a narcissist based on the card I have in front of me. What do you guys need to know about narcissists as it pertains to this spread? First of all, I think you need to know that the energy block is temporary. It is a way of bringing you into line that this narcissist type personality has. They feel like this non-communication or this non-helpfulness will make you appreciate them more and be happier when they show back up, no matter what kind of horrific things they did before. Okay, so you've got basically somebody who has a narcissistic type personality who's cutting you off in one way or another, and I think you're having a really hard time letting them go. Now, why do people have a hard time letting a narcissist go? Well, because In the beginning, when you're getting to know a narcissist, everything is sweet and wonderful, and they seem like a really upstanding citizen and a great person. It's only later on that you start getting all these negative vibes off of them that are just really horrible. But by then, you've gotten hooked on the sweet version of this person, the upstanding, integrity version of this person. And so a person has a hard time letting go of a narcissist because they're always hoping for what used to be to come back. And this is where we see you. This narcissist is using this, cutting you off in whatever way they're doing that, as a means to control you, knowing that you're missing them, knowing that you're having a hard time letting go of them, knowing that as soon as he rings the bell or she rings the bell, you'll come running. And you won't give them any lip because you miss them so much, even though they were horrible to you before. This is what's going on here, okay? This is what's going on from his perspective and your perspective, her perspective and your perspective, depending on your gender. To be honest with you, my analytics say only 3% of you guys are guys. So for most of you, well, that's even, I guess I can't even say that, because that would be assuming everybody's straight, and that's just not true. All right, let's look at what else is happening while we've got this narcissist personality playing games with you, Taurians. Yeah, you're letting go. It might be hard for you to let go, but you are letting go, and you're burning those bridges. You're burning those bridges. But you're really tormented about it. You're not having any peace about it. You're doing everything you can to let this person go while they're being quiet. At the same time, you're still in that mode of, oh my gosh, but what if we got together and things were good again? Okay. But you're doing what it takes to get away from this person. Let's see what else is happening. Definitely torn. It keeps coming up. Every single part of this talks about you being torn. I think you're also trying to do some kind of research. You're trying to understand what is going on with this relationship. And I think this is not like your typical type of research. This is like, you know what, I'm going to get a reading and I'm going to find out what's going on in this person's brain. Or I'm going to get a reading and find out if we have any hope for the future. Or, you know, if you pull cards, I'm going to pull cards and I'm going to look at this. You know, there's definitely this whole, you know, I'm checking in with spirit here because this is a little overwhelming and I don't know which way to go with this. And I think there's something new that you're learning too. Like, there's definitely new information that you're learning. But for some of you, well, for a lot of you, I feel like this new information that you're learning is something that you're learning not really relating to this person or to that situation, but that you're learning as a distraction to keep your mind from focusing on this whole situation between you and this narcissistic type person. So you've got some kind of distraction that you're learning. Maybe you're trying to teach yourself to speak Italian or French, or maybe you're trying to learn pottery. You know, maybe you're just trying to look at anything you can learn to keep from focusing on this whole situation with this narcissistic type personality. Okay. So there's that. That's your pivot point. Let's look at how we find you at the end of the week. You are definitely making some changes. You're definitely making some changes in your perspective and how you move forward. And I think that you're really frustrated about this person that's crossed over. Remember, we saw you grieving earlier. I think you're really frustrated at the end of the week about this person that's crossed over, and you're frustrated because you feel like, you know, you can't bring them back. You can't hug them, you know. And it's really a horrible feeling. I get it. But I do think that part of the transformation that you're having is that you are communicating in some way with this person that's crossed over. Maybe it's full-on mediumship and you're hearing this person or getting nudges from them, Maybe they're just sending you messages through songs on the car radio or Sirius FM or whatever, but it looks to me like you are finding a way to communicate and to know. You're very aware that you're communicating with this person that's crossed over. You're frustrated because it's different. It's a different way of communicating when somebody's out of their body, and I see some frustration here. But you're learning, you're fine-tuning this. I think as soon as you realize that you can do this, you start to fine-tune this process so that you can understand more about what this other person is trying to say from the other side. Okay? So that's what we've got for your first little time frame, Taurus. I'm going to go ahead and take a break. I'll come back in a little while and we'll look at a little bit more. See you soon. Welcome back, Taurus. Okay, so, whoops, you guys just had a bunch fall, but that's way too early and way too many. Okay, so this time we're going to be looking at the time frame from August 9th through the 15th. I hope you guys feel like you're benefiting from this new format. Putting a lot of extra time and energy and work into this, so I'm hoping that this will also give you guys a lot more benefit than the old weeklies used to. La da 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 da, la da da da, la da da da. Thank you for sharing this video with others who may find it helpful. Thank you also for the thumbs ups on the video. That helps, both of those help these to be viewed by more people. Thank you to those of you who are subscribers who keep on coming back. And thank you to those of you who are newly subscribed as well. And last but not least, thank you to those of you who are ordering private readings from me. I love to do private readings. I like talking to each of you personally. And it is all of you guys' support at every level, which does enable me to do what I love to do for my living. So I sincerely thank you. And now that we've got the cards down, let's just take a peek at what you've got here, Taurus. So for the 9th through the 15th, what we're looking at here in your environment, you're not very happy about what's going on in your environment, and it's easy to see why. It looks like you're being taken advantage of, and you're realizing that the environment is not exactly what you thought it was. You thought it was the ideal, and it's close, but it's no cigar. So now if your environment is home, this could be something where you're not happy with something that happened at home. Maybe there was something that happened and you had to call the insurance company, and you're being taken advantage of because the insurance company isn't covering what you thought they were going to be covering for that. So that could be one possible scenario here. But if this is work, this could be that, you used to really enjoy your job, but now you don't because you're just not paid enough for the energy and effort that you're putting in, and you're realizing that this is almost your dream job, but not quite. So there's different ways where this can actually, how the rubber can meet the road for this, but basically the bottom line here is in your environment you are being taken advantage of. You're realizing that what you thought was exactly what you wanted is not really, and where at first you were very happy with this, now you're not. That's the bottom line. Well, that's a rough start, Taurus. Let's see what comes next. Let's see what comes next. Hopefully things will get better as we go along here. Let's find out. Life has that crazy way of having ups and downs in it. And of course that gets reflected in the cards. Okay, so we're going to look at your subconscious leanings next, Taurus. And what we have here is that the first thing that pops out at me is that you are feeling kind of vulnerable. Looks to me like there is something hanging over your head that you would like to get rid of. To me, I think that this is, excuse me, I think that this is some kind of debt that's hanging over your head that you would like to get rid of. And there's a lot of confusion about how to get rid of this. Okay? Yeah, and I think the debt is what's making you feel vulnerable. So your subconscious leanings are working on, okay, well, how do I get rid of this debt because I don't like the situation that it puts me in? And there's just a lot of confusion for you about, okay, if I manipulate things over here so that I can pay this. Well, then that leaves me short over here. You know, so you're really looking at different options about how to pay, and I think that this is something that you're really confused right now during this time frame from the 9th to the 15th about how you're going to handle this. And so this is something that your subconscious is working on it because of that confusion, because the subconscious is looking for an answer for this that is palatable to you. All right, let's look next at learning style and communication style during this time frame. You do have a lot of natural curiosity going on, and that is guiding your learning style right now. There is still some confusion showing up, kind of like what we saw in the subconscious leanings. There is some confusion showing up in some of the things that you're learning, but that curiosity is really driving you forward. So I do think you're picking up a lot of good information too. I think there's a lot that is really clear as well. So I would say what you're picking up is more clear than you are confusion. And I think the way this is coming through, I think that you can sort through the confusion. I'm not too worried about that. That's just a temporary thing. Now, as far as communication style right now, I feel like you're doing a lot of communicating actually, and you are doing some listening as you're communicating. Nice, healthy thing going on there. But you're doing a lot of communication, and this communication is something that is empowering you as you're learning things and as you're communicating with people about things that need to be settled and ironed out. And your communication can be very passionate and very enthusiastic at some times. It looks to me like there is a certain amount of unhappiness involved here, and so if you've got some passion or enthusiasm in your communication, you may actually be shouting. You may actually be shouting, or you may be threatening somebody with lawyers or something along those lines. So there's definitely some passion and enthusiasm in this communication. I see a lot of communication. There is some unhappiness coming out of this as far as from you as you're communicating. But I do think that the communication that you're doing is actually putting you in a more empowered position that, for the most part, than what you were before. I'm not so sure the shouting is putting you in an empowered position. But I do see that communication, for the most part, is not the shouting. That's only a little bit of it. And I see that putting you in a better situation by the end of that 9th to the 15th time frame. All right, next, let's look at work. Workity work, work, work. You are collaborating with somebody right now, and it looks like you have choices as far as work too. One of your choices has to do with something that is from the past. You could go back to doing something that you've done in the past before, and you have other choices too. So I think you are going back to something that is in the past. I think you're also collaborating with somebody. This could mean a collaboration could be as simple as you're being employed by a ... company, but it could also mean that you're an independent contractor and you've got some clients coming in. But I think that your work is actually plenteous. It looks like you can pick and choose between the jobs that you want to handle. Nice, 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 Taurus. That's really awesome. Let's look at inner work. I think that inner work, you're really looking at honoring your creativity, and you want to go back to something that you used, some kind of creative thing that you used to do from the past. For some of you, this may be painting. This is some type of creative work: pottery, artwork, quilting, dancing. I'm hearing dancing, acting. You know, so for a lot of you Taurians, I think you're going to be, your inner work is going to be to get back to something that brought you joy from the past that you've sort of neglected and let fall into the back burner for a while, something that made you feel enthusiastic and excited and happy to get up in the morning. Inner work is getting more of that incorporated into your life. All right. La da 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 da. Next thing we're going to look at is that part of your personality which is growing or expanding right now. Right now being August 9th through the 15th. La da da da, la da 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 da. So this is interesting. It looks like you are going to be taking some downtime and thinking some things through. And I think you're going to come out of this thoughtful time period as having a totally, completely different perspective than what you did when you first started it. I think you go into this, you're really confused about whether something is beneficial for you or not, or whether it's just a hot mess that you would rather not deal with. And you go into this downtime really coming out with a new perspective on this whole situation, and you come out thinking, you still have a decision in front of you. And this decision has to do with keeping things status quo or the way they've always been, or are you going to move forward and choose something that is so far out of your realm of experience that you're just playing it by ear completely? Because if you choose to step away from the status quo, whatever you're stepping into is complete unknown. There's no handbook for this. Okay? So this is where you're being grown or expanded right now, is in making these decisions and taking the time to really look at things thoroughly to get a different perspective on them and to make these decisions that hopefully are going to help you move forward productively in your life. That's always the hope when we make a decision, right? Great time to get a reading, by the way, when you have something like this in front of you. Great time to get a reading. Alrighty. Next, what should we look at? I think we're going to look at those things that you stand for during this time frame. Fulfillment. You are ready to do things that make you feel fulfilled and satisfied and happy. And it looks to me like to do this, you've actually gone away from something that was negative, something that was holding you back, whether it was a job, a toxic person, a psychic vampire type person, a negative thought pattern, negative behaviors. You have moved away from whatever this was that was holding you back or dragging you down, because you are much more interested in feeling satisfied in your life and feeling happy in your life. You're not interested in jumping through hoops and dealing with drama. And as you've moved forward and found satisfaction, you're actually finding happiness with the idea that there are people in your life that not only are great personal friends, but also are great work colleagues as well. So it's like your lines have blurred between colleagues and friends. Everybody kind of is pretty much on the same level. Like you can share your personal life with your work colleagues, and you can share your work life with your personal people. And so this is really, to me, this is fruitful. This is almost celebration is what it looks like to me. So you're really standing up for moving away from whatever that negative influence was, and for finding satisfaction in the idea that, work and personal life can all blend together and be fine, can be drama-free, can be happiness-making. Look at that. Look at that, Taurus. For some people, that's a super huge challenge. That's fantastic. All right, let's look next at how other people perceive you. So that negative thing that you're leaving behind, they're seeing you as leaving that behind. They have a very accurate view of that you are leaving it behind. They're seeing that there's a little bit of bittersweetness there, but that it's appropriate to leave it behind, and you are doing so. They're also seeing you as continuing your walk. So when I say continuing your walk, what I'm talking about is the whole idea that we're all on a journey, and as we're on our journey, ideally we're striving towards creating a better life for ourselves, creating a better legacy to leave to those who are behind us, that type of thing. And so they're seeing you as continuing on your walk, that even though you've left something behind, you haven't quit walking forward. You haven't quit making progress. You haven't quit with your own growth. You're still doing what you need to do. And they see you actually as walking forward into a future that's exciting, because you understand more about yourself than you did before, and that there's still so much untapped potential in your future. So they're really seeing they're seeing whatever it is that you let go of, they're able to see, even from the outside looking in, that this is a really good thing for you and that it opens up all kinds of doors for you. I really like that person's view of you. They seem like a really supportive person. All right, let's see what else, Taurus. A few more stacks of cards and then we're good. 4 more. 4 more. Makes me think about doing aerobics. 4 more. 3 more. 2 more. Hang in there. All right. Let's look at your pivot point for this time frame. Taurians. Taurians. There's something going on around digging for information or doing research for your pivot point. And I think that you are the one digging for information or doing research, but I also think there's, I don't know if, I think I want to say like a mentor or advisor. If this is a friend, then this is going to be a friend that has a little bit of age on you. You know, they're a little bit older. But there's somebody who is kind of helping you find this new information. And for some of you, this may be that you're digging into spiritual laws or ideas. You may be learning from somebody about spiritual concepts, metaphysical, occult, arcane, mediumship, paranormal, law of attraction, you know, something along those lines. And you've got somebody that is helping you or facilitating you as you learn about this, but you're definitely digging for some kind of information, even if it's not that. And somebody is helping you along the way to find the information that you're looking for. I like it. All right, let's look next at something else that's going on at the same time here. Okay, so while this is going on, you are doing some kind of work that is laying a foundation for yourself, a foundation in security. And I don't see a whole lot of change in the work that you're doing or in this foundation that you're doing. So even though you're learning something new, you're still continuing in what you already know, in the trade or the skill that you already know. Okay? Other thing that's happening during your pivot point. Well, this is interesting. There's something here about security and home life. There's somebody that is in your home life that there's definite feelings there for this person. But at the same time, I think that there's not a commitment. It may be that even though this person, maybe you're sharing a home, you guys may have decided that, you know, you don't need that little piece of paper. You don't want to get married. You don't need the marriage certificate. It's interesting how this comes up because it's a decision that says not to get into a major commitment, but at the same time, you're really happy with your home life. So it could be that while you're learning this new information, while you're continuing your job, you may also have somebody around you that is interested in being a bigger part of your life, whether it's romantically or otherwise. And I think you're basically telling this person, you know, I'm happy with the arrangement that we have now. I don't see a need to really put anything in concrete here. I think we just kind of need to appreciate today and live in today and let things unfold however they unfold in the future. You don't feel the need to lock it down, so to speak. All right, whether it's a business partnership that somebody wants to lock down or a romantic partnership, you're just not feeling the need. You're like, what we've got now is pretty good, but I don't know that I want to do this for the rest of my life or for the next 10 years or 5 years or whatever. You know, it could be that Ooh, this could even be that you found a house to buy and somebody wants to offer to help you pay for the house, and so maybe they want to be in on the loan and the mortgage and all that. And you're saying, you know, I really don't want to be in that big of a commitment. I would rather do this on my own. Interesting. So a lot of ways that can actually pan out when the rubber meets the road, but those are just some potentials there. Once you get to the end of the week, what do we have going on? This is definitely a challenge that is coming up, and it looks like it's a challenge that's happening because there's somebody in your life who is, they show codependent tendencies, okay? Codependent people usually are incredibly nice, generous, good-hearted people, but generally they've grown up in situations where things were a little out of control when they were kids. And they kind of feel like if anything's going to go right, they have to be in control. Which makes them kind of annoying because they will try to step in and make decisions that you need to be making or take care of things that should be your responsibility. And I think there is a little bit of a territorial struggle here as far as somebody is moving in on you and trying to do things that are your responsibility. They're yours to take care of, and they're trying to do them their way. I think it's a struggle because they don't have bad intentions. The intentions are good, but they're just misguided. They're flat out misguided. And so, to me, this looks like, I think you guys are going to have words. I think you guys are going to have words, and I think they're going to be fired up, passionate words. So, I also feel like this person is somebody who cares about you deeply. And so it would be a good thing if you could tone this down a little bit, keep it more low-key, still give them the ideas, still give them the information that they need to know that how they're acting is a problem, but maybe not do it in such an enthusiastic way, shall we say. Maybe do it in a little bit of a compassionate way, coming from the point of understanding that they're not used to things working out unless they're in control. Just because of how they grew up when they were a kid, and pointing out that, you know, this is not that same situation, and things will really be okay if they let you handle some responsibilities, and coaxing them into trusting you with that. Okay, that would probably lead to a better outcome, but anyway, the way the energy is sitting right now shows this being a little bit more of a fiery confrontation than that. All right, so anyway, that's that time frame, Taurus. Let me go ahead and take a break, and I'll come back and finish. Well, I don't think I'll finish up. I think we've got 2 more sections. Anyway, I'll see you soon. Okay, Taurus, we are back for the 3rd time. This time we're going to be looking at the time frame of August 16th through the 22nd. Looking forward to seeing what good stuff might be coming up for you. Hopefully stuff, right? Let's find out. It's always much more easy to give messages when they're good. It's the other ones when you have to give them as a reader. You feel like you have a sore tooth or something. I don't want to say this. Unfortunately, if you don't come out with the truth, it's not very beneficial to your people. So you have to. At least you have to if you're worth your weight in salt. And I hope to goodness I'm worth my weight in salt. Okay, Taurus, let's start here. Starting with your environment, just like we always do. What's happening here? You have some kind of indecision that's going on, and it kind of ties in with what we saw at the end of our last time frame. This is indecision that has to do with the idea of keeping things status quo in the environment, or making it into something or doing something with it that is completely different that you've never done before, that you're just not sure how it would all work just yet. So there's some confusion here about whether you want to change something or not. The problem is that there's something definitely going on that needs some help in the environment. Whether this is a person that's in this environment or whether this is the environment itself, there is something that is not getting better on its own, shall we say. And so, you're really looking at, okay, what do I do? Do I keep things the way they are and just settle for this? Or do I do something totally, completely different and hope that it works out better? And I think that you are really trying to look at this situation logically and think it through and look at all the details and really figure out, bottom line here, okay, what has to be done? All right. Well, that was a proactive start. We like proactive starts. That means things are going to be happening. Things are going to be happening. Next, we're looking at your subconscious leanings. Okay. So we had grief showing up in, I think it was like the first section of this month. I have it showing up again here in your subconscious leanings. And it looks like to me, because of the grief that you've been feeling, you have been not able to do all the things that you would normally do. And as you haven't been doing those things that you would normally do, you are thinking things over. You're getting a different perspective on things than what you used to have as you're dealing with this grief and as you're dealing with this downtime that this grief is causing. And it's putting you in a situation where not only is your perspective changing, but you're making a decision about something moving forward. You are deciding. I think this grief is motivating this decision, and I'm really picking up this idea that you have the sense of, life is only so long. There's nothing guaranteed about how long a life is going to last. And so I think that whatever is going on, you're deciding to take some kind of action and to embrace your own life fully while you still have this gift. And that's what's going on in your subconscious is, okay, I'm doing this. I'm moving forward with life. I'm embracing life fully, whatever that means to you. You're making good use of this gift that's been given to you, the present. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's look next. Taurus, let's look next at learning style and communication style. We're going to start with learning style. A lot of emotions around what you're learning right now. Good ones, though. There's some happy emotions coming in. I think you are getting messages from Spirit. We had talked before about you learning about spiritual and possibly communicating with somebody who's crossed over. You're definitely getting messages from Spirit now. I don't think that you have any doubt about this. You've been practicing it enough to know. And I think that you've got a lot of curiosity going on about these types of things right now. You're appreciating the communication that is happening. And you basically, it looks to me like you've basically got a foundation of information laid here. Like you have a basic understanding of what's happening or what's going on, and you're just building. You're continuing to build on that whenever it comes to information about communicating with somebody. Yeah, information about communicating with somebody who's crossed over. Interesting. All right. La da da. So that was learning. Now we're going to look at communication style. Well, your learning had to do with communication style. We're going to see how much of this overlaps this time. You are communicating emotions. There probably is still a lot of tears, but there's a lot of happiness too, just in the idea that you can communicate with this person who has crossed over. But it's a very emotional time for you. And I think that what you're saying, the things that you are communicating to other people, I think that you're communicating them very directly, very to the point, straight to the heart of the matter. I feel like also there's a little bit of small talk going on, sort of, I want to say around you. I don't know if you're even really participating in this unless somebody kind of drags you into that conversation. What you're saying is very much to the point and necessary information is what we have out there. And I think also you're doing a little bit of laying back and you're waiting for the right time to communicate some of the things that are on your mind. You may be feeling that, this isn't the right time, or people are tired of hearing about this, or, so there is this whole idea of holding back and just waiting for the right time to communicate some of the things that are on your mind and on your heart right now. Okay? All right, Taurus. Next, what are we looking at? Next, we're looking at work. So we're going to look at outer work, and then we're going to look at inner work. So for work, you've got some interesting things happening here. A little bit contradictory, maybe. It looks like whoever you're working for or with, you're having a hard time being on the same page with them. There is some kind of disagreement that's happening here. And I think because of that disagreement, you may be going back to working in an old way or in an old style, or you may be going back to working at an old thing, working with an old employer, or doing work for yourself in an old way. And I don't think that you're taking this too heavily. I think this is coming off as kind of a light thing for you. You're pretty cheerful about it. You're still outgoing. I don't think you're worried about your network. I think you're feeling like whatever is happening with work, whether you're getting along with people or not, going back to something old or not, I still think that you're still enjoying your work either way, whether you are in a good place with this other entity or energy or not. You're still enjoying your work quite well. I think what you're going back to may be something that you had started on the side in the past and had kind of put on the back burner until something came up and you weren't getting along well with this other situation. Or maybe you're going back, if you're an independent contractor, maybe you're going back to an old client you had before. Maybe they approached you and said, I really need your help with something. And it was just perfect timing because there was this other client that you're not on the same page with. So there's definitely some changes coming up in work, but just the way that you show up here, I don't think you're taking them very seriously. I don't think that you're very bothered by them at all. And you may even be feeling coming out better in the end of this anyway. Okay? Let's look next at inner work. That work that we do to make ourselves happy with our own particular personality. This is related to outer work, and a lot of times it is, but I think that we have sort of had this idea in our mind, Taurus, when I'm looking at this from the 16th to the 22nd. I think you've sort of had it in your mind that to accomplish something, you had to be partnered up with somebody. I don't know if we're talking about business or personal, maybe both. But I think you had a paradigm in your mind that said, for me to actually accomplish anything worthwhile, I have to be working with somebody else. I don't know that I can do something on myself, by myself. And I think that I think you're moving away from that idea and you're coming into this idea of maybe I could accomplish something significant on my own. Maybe I can take care of this by myself. And it's something, I feel like this is something that maybe your parents or mentors, somebody in a leadership position in your life has sort of told you, You know, you're not very good at that, so you should always have somebody help you. Maybe you're not really good with numbers, so you should always have somebody help you with your accounting or with your money, or, you know. And I think that you're starting to realize that that's not true. I'm great with numbers. Or whatever it is that they've told you you're not so good with, you're starting to realize, you know what? I've done da 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 da, and I couldn't have done that if I wasn't halfway decent with this stuff. And so you're coming away from that idea that you have to have help or that you have to be a part of a team to accomplish something. You're coming into this idea that as an individual, you're able to accomplish something worthwhile. Very nice. Very nice. I like that. So that's inner work. La da 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 da. Next, we're looking at that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded during this time frame. Ooh, I like it. I like it. We've got some good stuff here, guys. I'm sorry I keep interrupting with drinking, but when you talk so much, it dries your throat out. Anyway, good stuff. Let's look at it. Where you're being grown or expanded, you've got some energy really flowing freely around you, like no blockages, no resistance, just really flowing freely. I love to see this card come up, and it's also talking about that you're really in one space. You're not being tormented, or how do you want to say that? You're not being torn inside about what's the right thing to do. Like your heart and your mind are not at war about anything. Your heart and your mind are on the same page about this thing where the energy is just flowing and flowing and flowing and flowing. And I think that this is a new development. I think that you were frustrated before because maybe your heart and your mind didn't agree on something, and so that kind of kept you from moving forward, or it kept you going back and forth and not really making any progress. But now that your heart and your mind are on the same page, this is bringing an end to that kind of back and forth frustration, and it's really opening up the energy for you. It's really making it so that you're able to receive the goodness that the universe has to offer you, because you're single-minded and you're single-hearted about something. And once we get ourselves on the same page without any resistance coming up from within ourselves, then we really make progress. The universe is able to really work with us and make things happen. And that's what I see going on here. This is fantastic, Taurus. This is fantastic. These are the types of messages I like to give. Yay, yay. All right. Let's look next at those things that you stand for. So it looks like you're in some kind of leadership position right now, and this could be a leadership position like within the family, within work, within some type of club or organization, but you're in some type of leadership position and you are not feeling very confident in it. You've got a lot of insecurities about this leadership position. It's just not something that you get into. You don't find it fulfilling and satisfying. And I think, somebody's confronted you because you don't find it fulfilling or satisfying. You have a lot of insecurities about if you're even doing a good job. And somebody said, hey, what are you talking about? You're great. And so you've kind of had to explain, okay, well, this is why I'm not so sure about all this. All right. Now, by the way, the other person can't understand why you're not so sure. You seem to be doing a great job to them. Now, how other people see you from the outside looking in, they definitely see you as making a lot of transitions, of change, transformation, and transformation in a positive direction. They see you as somebody who's getting grounded, who's learning your balance, who is learning timing. Earlier we were talking about timing with those words that you're speaking with your communication. They see you as really getting a good grip on timing and really being in a balanced place, even as you're going through this transition. And it looks to me like the other thing that they're noticing about you is they feel that you're having a hard time really tuning into your own intuition or your own inner guidance system right now. And if you're dealing with grief, that wouldn't be so surprising, because sometimes grief kind of drowns out everything else. And so this may be what is actually going on. This is definitely how the other person on the outside is perceiving that. But in spite of that idea of not being able to calibrate to your own inner guidance system, you're making some changes that are massive and that are good for you, and you're getting more grounded and getting a better sense of timing for your opportunities. That's how this outside person is seeing you. So that's pretty, that's a pretty positive perspective from the outside. We'll take it. I don't always know if I want to really give any weight to what other people think that are outside of us, but especially if they don't think well of us, I would rather throw those cards out. But when they're seeing some positives, then I'm all for hearing about that. I kind of get offended for you guys if somebody thinks something bad about you. I'm kind of like, who's going to listen to you anyway? But if they think something good about y'all, then I'm just like, okay, that's cool. We like it. You can't do these readings and not get attached to your people. At least on some level. Alright, so Taurus, we're looking at the pivotal point during this time frame right now. And what we have coming up here for you guys. There is something going on here that has to do with friends and colleagues, where I think you're realizing that you have to separate personal life from business life. Now, earlier in the month, we were seeing that it was all coming together really well. Now we're coming to a point where, not so much. Now it's important to keep it separate. It looks to me like what I'm feeling like from this card is that there's somebody who's jealous of you. And the way this is showing up, I think they're jealous of you. Like if they're in your personal life, they're jealous of your work life. If they're a colleague at work, they're jealous of your personal life. And I think they're making some comments. And I think this is what's made you realize, you know what, I need to keep things separate so that at work we can focus on work, and at home we can focus on personal stuff, so that I don't have people that are getting jealous over something that they're not even involved in. Okay, so this is a definite change from what we saw earlier in the month. And I do feel like this jealousy makes things rough for you. Not only is it awkward, but I think that the way this person is acting and some of the things that they're saying are sort of tainting how other people look at you as well. And so this is that pivotal point where things start to change. This is where you start to say, work stays at work, home stays at home. Done. No more crossover. What else is happening during this time? This is interesting. Even though somebody's jealous of you, you're able to find your peace. You're able to find your zen. You've got your mojo going. You know? Now, you're not up in everybody's face about your mojo. You're doing things that are behind the scenes, just doing your normal support role type stuff. You know, you're not putting anything in anybody's face. Definitely not. And it looks like also part of getting your mojo going is that you had found yourself in some kind of territory, whether it was emotional territory or actually literal territory, where you didn't feel like you knew your way around and you didn't necessarily feel welcome. And I think that you have sort of backed out of that. You've kind of thought, you know what? I do want to get into that territory. I do want to accomplish this. I do want to do this, or I do enjoy this neighborhood or this coffee shop or whatever. But you've sort of backed off and you're regrouping and you're coming up with a plan before you come in there again. A plan of, you know, how you're going to handle the environment, the feelings that are going around there before you come back into that territory, whether it's literal or figurative. And that is part of what's increasing your mojo. La da da da. What else is going on? Oh, you are a manifesting mama or a manifesting papa. But you're definitely manifesting some good things right here. part of the reason you're manifesting some good things is because there's a situation around you where you're not exactly really happy with the situation, but you feel like if you say something, you're going to rock the boat and you're going to make things worse than what they already are. And I think this is just something that it's going on. It bothers you. You know it's not right. It kind of eats you up from the inside out. But like I said, I think you feel like if you say something, then things are just going to get worse. So you're not. You're not saying anything. You're sort of letting it go, at least for now. And you're manifesting the things that you want. So you're focusing on something completely different. You're not focusing on this thing that is actually bothering you. And I think you may even be putting down some responsibilities to have to do with that thing that's bothering you. Maybe you don't want to be associated with whatever that is, and so you are laying those responsibilities down, and that's going to be helping you to manifest the things that you want to manifest. Because if you're involved with something that is just slowly eating away at you from the inside out, it's pretty hard to manifest what you want. But this idea here of putting down responsibilities like that, that tells me that if you're putting down the responsibilities about something that's really bugging you, then guess what? That's what makes you able to manifest the things that you want to manifest. So you've got some things happening there. I think this is definitely an eye-opening situation, but you've still got your mojo going on. You're still manifesting. Still being very proactive. We had you being proactive with that environment. You're still being proactive even on that pivot point. Next thing that we're looking at, how do we find you at the end of the week? It looks to me like towards the end of the week you're feeling safer and more secure and more comfortable hanging out with friends than you are dealing with your home or your family or your tribe. So friends are kind of your safe space right now, where normally family would hopefully be the safe space. That's not so much what's going on. And I think that you may even be talking to friends about, you know, this is what's going on in my home life, or this is what's going on with my family. I just don't know how to deal with it. You may be getting some good advice from them on how to deal with it. Okay? So that's what we've got, Taurus. Let me go ahead and wrap this little section up, and then we'll come back and we'll hit your last part of August. Okay, Taurus, we are back for your last time frame through August. We're looking at 23rd through the 31st, so a week plus 2 days, and we're just going to see what comes up with you. Same thing, same format as before. If you guys want to scroll through the shuffle and me putting down the cards, you're welcome to do that. I know that'll save you a little bit of time. These videos are long, so do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. Kind of have a sense that this time frame that we're looking at right now, you are definitely going to be in that mode of doing what you need to do. Other people are going to be making decisions, and you are going to be put in a position where you might have to do something that, you know, they kind of have your back up against the wall. They're not going to like it, but I think that some of the things they're coming up with may not be things that you can live with, and so you're going to be doing what you need to do. And I feel like with no guilt behind that at all, just really taking care of business. Now let's look at environment. Once again, we have this theme of grief showing up for you guys, Taurus. I am so sorry to say. I'm sorry for your loss, whatever that was. But in the environment, it does look like you are starting to feel like there's something about the environment, whether it's a person in the environment or the environment itself, that is starting to help you feel like you can smile again, like you can look out at the world. We kind of saw this like in the very first part of the month, that you were starting to feel that way, but we've been seeing you kind of struggle with this all the way along. Now we're coming back to that point of, okay, you know what, I can accept that life is going on even though this person isn't here anymore. Sort of coming to, you know, getting some healing from that grief. And that's a process. That's not something that's just going to disappear in a week or a week and 2 days. So, you know, don't beat yourself up if you think it's going to last a certain amount of time. Grief is very much individual for everybody. there is no normal. You know, you have to do what works for you with that. Excuse me. So, coming into a better place. And I think part of the reason you're coming into a better place with this is you're being emotionally supported. It looks like personally around your home, or if your home is at work, maybe even with your colleagues, there's definitely some things going on where you're having some interesting, exciting, happiness-making interactions and where you're feeling loved and supported. And so that is actually helping you as you move through this grief in your environment. Next, we're looking at your subconscious leanings, Taurus. So let's see what comes up here. It does look like there's some kind of decision that you're trying to make. You're feeling kind of confused about it. It looks like you're trying to really look at each and every little tiny piece of this to figure out what way you want to go with it. And so that's what's going on in your subconscious. I do feel like this situation has to do with your home or with your family life, maybe even with your tribe. There's something that has been bothering you that you haven't really been saying anything about. You've just been pasting on a smile and pretending to be happy. I think your subconscious is working on, I really need to say the truth here. I really need to come out with that truth. And so your subconscious is working on, okay, how do I do that? How do I do that and not make things worse than they are? So that's where your subconscious is working for that particular time frame. Main theme, at least. Okay, next we're looking at communication and learning. I do feel like when it comes to picking up new information, there is kind of a lot of chaos around you, and I think you're learning a lot as that chaos goes on. You're paying attention. You're paying attention, and you're learning a lot of things about how to fix things, how to make things better as you see these chaotic situations happen and as you're involved with bringing them back around to something peaceful. I think you're also learning some things through sort of some hints. There's some indirect information. Well, there's information that you're picking up in an indirect way, let's say it that way. Maybe you're just kind of hearing things and you're able to put two and two together, so you're picking things up kind of sideways or indirectly. And I really think a lot of this information has to do with the end of something that you're picking up, that you're interested in. Like, how is something going to end? La, da, 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 da. Let's look at communication style. You're looking kind of bipolar when it comes to communication during this time frame, Taurus. I feel like there's a lot of really good, very clear information that you're giving, that you're communicating, but I also feel like you are communicating some dark information too, some kind of negative things. You could be telling people, some things that make them question their own self-esteem or self-confidence here, or you could even be going so far as to threaten somebody here. So there is some negative communication that's going on, and it's in high contrast to the positive communication that's coming out, because there is a lot of positive too. There's more positive than negative, probably 60-70% positive, but there is this negative, shadowy communication that's coming out too. I do think that when you're communicating, you are trying to build a picture for somebody. You're trying to communicate in a way that they can understand and build from one idea to the next to make sure they're following what's going on and what you're talking about. And I think that also your communication is bringing some healing. So where maybe in the beginning of this time frame, there's threats involved, there's kind of some negative emotional that may be coming out of your mouth without you realizing it. By the end of the week, I see you guys doing some healing with your communication and doing better about communicating with the people around you in a way that doesn't make them feel beat up. And it's interesting, Taurus, because I'm not used to seeing you guys communicate this way. To me, this tells me that you're in a lot of pain yourself. Otherwise, you wouldn't be communicating this way. So Really nice to see this healing coming up as a part of that communication situation. All right. Next thing we're looking at has to do with work. So we're going to look at outer work first. If you don't remember what that is, you can scroll back to one of the other 3 time frames. Inner work after the outer work is what we're going to look at. So outer work first. Is this person that has crossed over in your life that you're grieving, are they from work? Are they a work colleague? It looks to me like they are definitely on your mind. You were definitely interacting with somebody who passed over, or you're doing some things at work because of somebody who crossed over. Or maybe this isn't at work, but this is something that you're doing that actually is technically considered work. And you're doing it as a memorandum type of, or memoriam, I'm not saying the right word, but in memory of, let's say it that way, in memory of this other person who has crossed over. And I think that there are some frustrating things going on at work. I think that other people may not really be acknowledging this other person and their importance or their crossing. And I think that that is really frustrating for you, because I think that you would like everybody there to be respectful at the very least. And then I think you're also thinking about, do I stay here? Do I keep the status quo, or do I start something completely new? Do I go to a different place to work? Do I start something on the side to work for myself? I think that a little bit of this has to do with the idea that whenever you're at work, you remember this person who's crossed over, or because the people are so disrespectful about the person who's crossed over that it really bothers you. So it has you really thinking about, I don't know if I want to stay here or not. Maybe I want to go do something else or just be somewhere else for my work. Okay? So let's look at inner work, Taurus. Inner work looks to me like you've kind of shut down, actually, any communication with somebody who's crossed over. I know the last time frame you were finding out about, communicating with spirit who's crossed over. Now it looks to me like you're shutting that down. Maybe you're getting a little tripped out by it. Everybody usually does get scared a little at first when that happens. That wouldn't be so far out of the norm. And as you're shutting them, you're kind of deciding, you're making your decision, okay, do I want to go back to the way things used to be when I really couldn't communicate with somebody who crossed over, or do I want to pursue this whole situation with talking to somebody who's crossed over? There are pros and cons to moving into a lifestyle where you can talk to somebody who's crossed over, and I think that you're really considering those pros and cons before you make that decision. Also, this whole idea of, shutting that communication line down while you're making this consideration tells me that something happened that did freak you out or scare you. And so, when I first started doing this, I can tell you that I was terrified because I didn't know who I was hearing from. When I started hearing from people who had crossed over, I didn't know if there was a demon in my room trying to talk to me. I had always been raised that if somebody came back and they claimed that they were from the other side, a particular person, that it was really just a demon trying to trick you. So I didn't know if that was a demon. I really didn't know what to think, and I was terrified. It wasn't, obviously. I believe that if you test the fruits of something, then that's how you know if that something is good or bad. And so I kind of used that philosophy to figure out, if it was a demon or not. But it did terrify me, and it was scary. Nobody prepares you for an experience like this. Nobody teaches you in grade school what to do if a ghost visits you with a message. This is not something that we're ever really taught. And so I just want to reassure you, if something happened to you that scared you, that had to do with communication with this person that, is so much on your mind and on your heart that's crossed over, just I wouldn't so much be scared as much as I would think about what was the message that they were trying to give to you. And think about, the idea they can't communicate the same way that they used to be able to communicate with you. So now they have to use references and symbols that are more tangible. So if they're flickering your TV onto a particular TV show, or if they're making certain songs play on your radio, or if they're making certain songs skip on your CD player, or what do they have now? MP4 players? I don't know. I watch my music on YouTube now. Maybe they're making music skip on YouTube. I don't know if that's possible, but I mean, they have a different way of communicating than what they did before. And so it's important that when something happens that scares us, that we step back and we look and we kind of figure out, okay, well, what is this person actually trying to say? Because if you do that, I think if you take some of that fear out of it, you detach and get some distance, I think you'll understand a little more. And that'll make it easier for you to make your decision about whether you want to continue to communicate with somebody or not. All right, we spent a lot of time on those 3 little cards. Let's move on. I hope that information was helpful for many, many of you. Moving on to that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now. Okay, this kind of ties in with what we were looking at before for in our work. Definitely you felt like you were too vulnerable, and you're trying to put up barriers to make sure that you don't become that vulnerable again in some kind of certain situation. Okay? At the same time that you're doing that, gosh, this is directly parallel to inner work. You are considering what happens if I move forward with this. You're trying to make plans of, do I want to move forward with this communication? Do I not want to? I think we're totally talking about that all over again. And one of the cards here just talks about count the cost. Because if you do move forward with something like this, then it changes things. It changes a lot of things. It changes how you view the afterlife. It changes how other people view you. It changes things. So definitely you want to count the cost before you make your decision if you want to jump over into this, or if you want to go back to pretending that you've never talked to anybody who crossed over or communicated with them in whatever way that you did. And where you're growing or expanding right now is where you're making plans. You're making plans about how you're going to handle this, if you're going to move forward or not. You're looking at, is this something that's going to be satisfying and fulfilling to me or not? Good thing to look at. Okay? All right. Next thing that we're looking at for you, Taurians. Next thing that we're looking at is something that you stand for. There is somebody who has been taking advantage of you, and this is somebody in a position of authority. So this could be somebody in a position of authority in the family, at work, in an organization or club that you're a part of. And they've been taking advantage of you, but here's the thing. You are starting to get your self-esteem going on, and you're starting to stand up for yourself because you do have a sense of your own worth and your own importance. And you don't like being walked on, like who does? Okay? And so you're standing up for yourself here. I like this. And I think somebody says to you, why are you saying something to him? Or why are you saying something to her? You know they go totally ballistic if you confront them. Well, because I got tired of being walked on. Let them go ballistic. All right? Next thing we're looking at is, how do other people perceive you? Aww. They're seeing you as being heartbroken and in love, and that's not ever changing. And I'm going to tell you, I think that has to do with your person who crossed over. I think that when your person crossed over, you got frozen in this. Maybe not in love, but you loved that person. That doesn't go away just because somebody crosses over. You're also heartbroken, and you're heartbroken because they're not there. And nothing's going to change that, because nothing is going to actually make them be there. Okay? So, that's how people are seeing you from the outside right now, as being perpetually frozen in this heartbroken in love, or heartbroken fully loving somebody that's gone, and nothing's bringing them back. Powerful stuff, Taurus. You guys are definitely having a powerful time frame here. Powerful. Okay, let's look at your pivot point. What do we have coming up here? There is definitely some kind of celebration happening. In spite of somebody being jealous of you, there's somebody that is jealous of you, and that you still have a celebration that's happening. You may be getting promoted at work, or maybe it's just, I don't know, I don't think it's the right time for your birthday, is it? No, that time has passed. But there's some type of celebration where you're being honored, you're the center of attention, and somebody is totally jealous of that. But I don't feel like that jealousy is really impacting you in any way. You're coming up as being sheltered or being protected. What else is going on at the same time? As we have this celebration of you, what else is happening? Well, there is a little bit of confusion that you have. There's a decision that you want to make, and you're having a hard time making that decision. But I think you're actually getting a reading, or you're throwing cards for yourself, something. You are looking for information from a spiritual perspective to help you with this decision, and you are finding that. You're finding that inner guidance. So I think probably you're tapping into spirit on your own. I don't think you're necessarily getting a reading that you're, where from a friend or one that you're paying for. I think maybe you're even meditating. I'm going to say probably not, because we don't have the Hanged Man here, but you're definitely tuning into your own intuition. You're tuning into your own source and getting information to help you with this decision that you're having a hard time making, that you're feeling confused about. What else is going on in the same time frame? I think that there's a lot of frustration for you about the idea that you have a goal or a target that you're trying to reach. That would be the ideal thing for you to be able to do. And I think that there's somebody that is sort of blocking that. Somebody has made a decision or a judgment that blocks you being able to reach that goal, and they refuse to work with you on this. Now, this could be that you're going for a loan. This could be that you ask for a promotion. This could be that you have job applications out. But there's something going on where you're definitely shooting for a goal or target, and at least for the moment, somebody has decided that they're not going to work with you. I do get the strong sense that just because this somebody isn't going to work with you doesn't mean nobody will work with you. This is just who's showing up in this time frame. Like if somebody turns you down, then, ask somebody else, and ask somebody else, and ask somebody else till you get what you need to get done. How do we see you at the end of this time frame, Taurus? It looks to me like there is something that you're really dedicated to, but it's not bringing you a lot of happiness. And I think you feel like you've been forced into it. Now, this may have to do with this idea of people not wanting to work with you towards your goal or towards your dream. But I think that if you take that and just keep on looking for other people that'll work with you towards that, I think you'll be fine. But the way the energy sits right now, I don't think that you are... I think you're feeling really frustrated because things aren't working out the way that you want them to, and it looks to me like you feel like you're forced into making a decision that you really don't want to make. So all I can say here is don't settle. Keep looking for somebody who will work with you. That way, where we're seeing you at the end of this time frame doesn't have to come true. Because trust me, there's lots of things that I say on these videos that I hope doesn't come true, and free will can change anything. So you can see these videos ahead of time. You can make some decisions that are different than your usual decisions and throw that into a different direction if you want to. And that's what I'm hoping you guys are going to do with this. Okay? So there we go, Taurus. That's your month. We finally made it to the end. Thank you for spending some of your precious time with me today. Thank you also for the thumbs ups and for sharing this video with other people who would find benefit from it. Of course, also thank you to my subscribers who keep coming back even though I change things up on a regular basis around here. And thank you to the new subscribers who are finding use in what I offer out here on these videos. And of course, thank you, last but not least, to those of you ordering private readings from me. It's always my pleasure to get to know each one of you as an individual or to catch up with each one of you as individuals. Anyway, I appreciate you all so much. Everybody have a fantastic, wonderful, thrilling, and peaceful month. And if I don't see you here for a private reading, then I'll see you guys back on the next video. Peace out. See you in a minute. Soon.